Fill up your ink tanks and grab your favorite Splattershot because it's time to raid for treasure. Splatoon Raiders takes the colorful ink-covered action of the main series and brings it into a fully realized single-player and co-op adventure, introducing plenty of new mechanics along the way. Whether this is your first Splatoon game or you're a multiplayer veteran, here are the most important tips and tricks you need to know before diving into Splatoon Raiders. When you first start Splatoon Raiders, you can choose between 3 difficulty levels: Tourist, which is a hilarious name for easy, Raider, and Survivalist. Higher difficulties make Salmonids faster and tougher, but it's important to know, they don't increase the rewards you earn from completing a raid. So, if you're only interested in progression, there's no penalty for playing on an easier difficulty. That said, just a personal anecdote of mine, while you may not earn better rewards, the game is a bit more fun when you actually have to strategize a bit, so keep that in consideration. You can also change the difficulty at any time from the options menu, so don't feel locked into your initial choice. You'll earn experience by defeating Salmonids and completing stages. Once your experience bar fills up, you'll level up, just like every other game. Leveling up increases your HP and damage while also earning you a skill point to spend on upgrades. Every stage has a Salmonid level that roughly corresponds to your own, but you're free to attempt higher level challenges if you want. If you hit a wall, however, there's nothing wrong with returning to previously completed stages to earn more experience. Huge crystal raids are especially useful for this, since their open-ended structure gives you plenty of opportunities to defeat enemies and gather resources. If you've played Splatoon before, you already know that traveling through your own ink in swim mode is much faster than running around on foot. That remains incredibly important in Splatoon Raiders. Whenever you're exploring, create a path of ink ahead of you and swim through it to move around much faster. In other words, just because there aren't any enemies nearby doesn't mean you should stop shooting. Keeping the battlefield covered in your ink is just as important during combat. Being surrounded by Salmonids is bad enough, but being surrounded by Salmonids while their ink cuts off every escape route is even worse. Make a habit of painting the area around you before things get out of control. Having a clear path of your own ink gives you room to reposition, retreat, and recover. Enemy ink is even more dangerous in Splatoon Raiders than you might expect. Not only does it slow you down, but standing in it will gradually damage you over time. Whenever possible, cover Salmonid ink with your own and avoid fighting in areas where you have nowhere safe to move. And remember, swimming does not make you invincible. Even though it may look like you're hiding beneath the ground, you absolutely still take damage while in swim mode, so keep your distance from dangerous enemies. Swim mode isn't just useful for moving quickly, it's also the fastest way to recover both your ink and your health. If you take heavy damage, create some breathing room, dive into your own ink, and keep moving while you recover. As you progress, you can also unlock upgrades that reduce the delay before your health begins regenerating and increase how quickly it returns. One of the most useful habits you can develop is constantly switching between swimming and shooting. Pressing the fire button while swimming immediately launches you out of the ink and lets you start attacking. This makes it easy to swim for a moment to regain ink and reposition, pop up and fire, and then dive straight back down. Doing this consistently will help keep you mobile and help prevent your ink tank from running dry during long fights. Each tank comes with its own unique gadget and playstyle. The speed tank gives you a blast boost, which lets you leap to a location and land with a splash of ink. The power tank comes with the Splattershot, a powerful close-range attack that sends you charging into the action. And the tactical tank gives you a shot pot, a deployable turret that automatically targets nearby Salmonids. You can swap tanks from the gear menu whenever you're in the hideout, so you're never permanently locked into one choice. Use the training targets at the hideout to experiment with each tank and gadget before heading into a raid. As you unlock more weapons and gadgets and relics, try to build a loadout where everything complements your other choices. For example, the shot pot works well with ranged weapons, allowing you to stay safe at a distance while your turret provides additional firepower. More aggressive gadgets, meanwhile, can pair nicely with close-up or melee-focused weapons. You can mix and match however you want, but a loadout built around a clear strategy will usually be more effective than simply equipping whatever has the biggest numbers. Unlike your primary weapons, gadgets don't consume ink. That makes them incredibly valuable when your ink tank is running low or you're overwhelmed by enemies. Instead of waiting helplessly for your ink to recover, use your gadget to keep dealing damage and create some breathing room. As raids become more difficult, you'll regularly find yourself fighting large groups of Salmonids at once. Whenever possible, prioritize attacks that can damage multiple enemies. Your bot buddies' over here landing attack, gadgets, and showstopper abilities can all help clear groups much faster than focusing on one enemy at a time. Your bot buddy is much more than a companion. Calling it back to your position creates an explosion of ink around you, which can be useful when enemies are closing in. You can also use your buddy as a distraction, giving you an opportunity to attack enemies while they're focused somewhere else. And if you need some extra height, use a bot jump. Jump onto your bot buddy and jump again to launch yourself into the air, giving you a better vantage point to attack or escape. The world map features several different types of raids, and knowing what you're getting into can help you choose the right stage for whatever you need. Treasure chest raids are your more traditional, mostly linear stages. You'll fight through groups of enemies, reach a large crystal, and mine it to earn the treasure at the end. Huge crystal raids are more open-ended. You'll explore a larger area, gather resources, mine smaller crystals, and defeat enemies to collect enough eggs to power the driller. These are also some of the best stages for farming experience and resources. Salmonid Dens are combat-focused arenas where you'll fight waves of enemies and collect eggs to power the driller, all while working against a fairly strict time limit. Buried Ruins offer similar timed combat challenges, but encourage you to experiment with different tanks. Each tank has its own associated rewards, so fully completing a Buried Ruin requires clearing it with all 3 tanks. Finally, Sampler Dungeons are special training stages unlocked through compass puzzles. Each one focuses on a particular weapon or gadget, and there's no time limit, making them a great place to experiment with unfamiliar equipment. Completing one will also reward you with a skill point tome. Splatoon Raiders inherits the advanced movements and mechanics introduced in Splatoon 3, including the Squid Surge and Squid Roll. While swimming up an inked vertical surface, hold the jump button to charge up a Squid Surge, then release it to launch yourself upwards. The Squid Roll is performed by swimming in one direction, sharply changing direction, and jumping at the same time. This lets you quickly reverse course without losing momentum, and you can even change multiple squid rolls together to evade attacks. Both techniques are worth practicing, especially once combat becomes more hectic. You don't need to physically run into Spirhalite Shards to collect them. You can also just shoot them with your weapon. This is particularly useful when the shards are floating somewhere awkward or difficult to reach, and while you're at it, shoot or kick loose objects scattered around the environment. Some of these will drop additional Spirhalite Shards, so players looking to maximize their resources should make a habit of checking everything. Once an item has dropped onto the ground, you don't necessarily need to run over and collect it. Weapons, gadget parts, briny scrolls, compasses, and other important items that have been released from their containers will automatically be collected at the end of the raid, so if grabbing an item will put you in danger, leave it behind and keep moving. If you're using the pot shot, pay attention to where it fires when there don't appear to be enemies nearby. The turret can sometimes target larger crates or other objects you may have missed, potentially revealing hidden paths and secret areas. Apparently, your turret might know something that you don't. After completing a stage, you can check the treasure map to see whether you missed any collectibles. If you did, simply return to the stage to track them down. And what's cool is, once you've collected the missing item, you don't need to complete the entire raid again. You can just quit out immediately and the collectible will still count. Compasses can also work differently depending on the puzzle. Some point you toward the correct location, while others use a hot and cold system to help you narrow down where the treasure is hidden. Co-op becomes available after completing the Scale Buried Ruins raid on Earp Island. These names. After that, interact with the improvised communication station at the hideout to create an online room or start a local co-op session. The room leader decides which raid to play, but you don't need to worry about major level differences between players. Enemies and rewards are scaled individually, meaning a high-level player can still earn meaningful rewards while playing alongside someone much earlier in the game, and they won't absolutely destroy everything as well, as the enemies they're facing will be scaled to their level. The main restriction is that every player must already have access to the selected stage, so while experienced players can help newer ones, they can't bring them into raids they haven't unlocked yet. And those are some of the most important tips and tricks to know before diving into Splatoon Raiders. For more guides, walkthroughs, and everything else you need to know about this game, keep it right here on IGN.